And not only am I being creative and innovative, but I am now putting into operations what allows for our mission and our core values to be seen on a day-to-day basis. And so what I think is really, really important from leadership is to say, yes, you can have a vision, but it's very important for you to understand the teams, the organizations, and or the various departments that you're responsible for serving. What's their vision? And how do you make sure that you remain laser focused on that so that you can deliver the most ultimate value on a day-to-day basis? Leadership requires for one to be courageous. And in that space, you may face something that you perhaps have done before or maybe brand new to you. I can say within my first 2.5 years with Unleashing Leaders, a very, very bold activity had to occur, meaning how do we align our teams? How do we ensure that we have an organizational model that allows us to contribute to, again, our mission, deliver on the client's scope of work, but also how do we ensure that operationally that we are stable and that we have the right capabilities and the competencies in our workforce. And so the bold activity was taking a look at everyone that was part of our UL organization and making a strong determination of where we needed to go, meaning tomorrow, and what did that workforce from an organizational model need to reflect. And so building that took courage. It required data, but it also allowed for me to have some influence across our organization with other leaders to demonstrate here's where we're going, and here's how we get there, and here's the workforce that's needed. People are our most important asset of our organization. It's not the process, it's not technology, it's not even the product that we offer, but it's the people. And so when I look at when you make investments with individuals, it starts with building the relationship. And so having those conversations, whether it's a one-on-one, it's a team meeting, or it's a quick opportunity to go out and have a cup of coffee, become curious. Ask that individual, what interests you? Where do you see yourself 1 year from now, 3 years from now, or 5 years from now? And serve as a resource to that individual. What you can see from an organizational perspective, this may be considered professional development, meaning what is it that you want to do? What does that role look like? What's the timeline associated with it? But most importantly, what's the investment? Is it introducing an individual to my network? Is it supporting them with a particular course, certification, attending of a conference? So I think it's really important for leaders today to take time out and build meaningful relationships with those that report to them directly. One thing that we do out of many here at Unleashing Leaders is team norms. And norms allow for you to almost have a set of rules that you would always have in front of you. And so I think when we're in fast-paced environments, it's important for us to not lose sight of what we are actually responsible for. And so in these settings where we move really quickly, decisions may not be clear, data may not always be available to help us understand the decision to be made, I would say development and implementation of team norms that you can continue to revisit, remind one another of, and or add to, if necessary, to keep, again, the synergy amongst leaders as well as the culture well alive within the system. I think that's where the alignment across the leadership is necessary. A little while ago, we talked about core values and we talked about team norms. I think we can go back and say, what or where did the leadership team align in alignment with priorities? So if we said our number one priority was hiring X amount of individuals by February 15th, if that hasn't changed, that means that's still our number one priority. If we say we're going to focus on subcontractor vendors to help us execute our book of business, if that's number two, that's still priority number 2. So I think it's really fallen in alignment with where did we agree to as a leadership team as our priorities, and how do we stick to that? A lot of organizations, they may say, hey, here's the process that we follow. It works. But I think where it may erode trust is when individuals say, hey, I have an idea. It could be, again, creative, it can be innovative. When that idea is not heard, that individual may interpret that as not being valued. And so I think all organizations today, they have an opportunity to be creative, to be innovative, to be efficient, to optimize. And that also means that they should look at their processes and say, here's where we can make some changes that's not going to only impact in a positive way our consumers, our patients, or customers, but our employees are going to get greater work satisfaction because they feel as if they're involved and that they're contributing to meaningful work. And so again, I would just remind individuals and other leaders to say, just because a process is in existence doesn't mean it's the best process to follow. So ask individuals, what do you think we should do? What should we do differently? Or what should we do less of in order to be more efficient in the space that we're responsible for?